The 2025 Women's Euros is here. In preparation for the tournament, we're analysing every single nation. Today we finish the previews with Wales. The Dragons prepare to represent Cymru for the first time on the major international stage. We take a look at the tactics they'll deploy at their debut tournament and why Welsh fans should be excited ahead of this summer. We also look at who could stand out in the team and why this Euros will be a huge positive for women's football in Wales. This is our Wales Euros preview. Right, let's get into it. It's our last preview ahead of this summer's Women's Euros, and today we are on to Wales. Wales debutants at this summer's tournament, Harry. Let's start though by talking about their history. Obviously, there isn't any. How does that impact on Wales coming into this tournament?
It's absolutely massive. It's as you say, it's a historic moment for the country to reach their first ever European Championships, to reach their first ever major international tournament. This is, these players going out there in that red shirt could be building a new legacy here. This is new ground for the country of Wales, and credit to them. I thought that they've battled hard to be here. They showed their quality across, when it mattered most, and they found themselves as being one of the 16 teams heading to the tournament this summer, and it's a massive occasion for them. And whether they turn up and don't win a game or whether they turn up and win the whole thing, I think the whole country is going to be very happy and very proud with what this side has achieved by reaching it. They're the lowest ranked side at the tournament. That tells you everything you need to know, that they are up against it. They are predicted to struggle, but that's sometimes when teams come alive and show their best quality. So a massive moment for Wales, the history of as a nation, as a team. And I think that the opportunity for 23 players to represent their country and be the first 23 players to represent their country in history is a massive achievement to those footballers.
Yeah, it's an exciting opportunity, and obviously Wales as a country now has someone to get behind, has a team that they can believe in. I think they'll look at this tournament with a lot of promise. Can they go on? And I don't think though they may not be competitive at the actual tournament, I think the idea is that, similar to how getting to the tournament has impacted teams, this can get the nation behind a team, and it helps when they play well. But if the performances are there even without the results, I think that can really help to get a bit of that spirit there for Wales and a bit of belief in the team. And let's talk about qualifiers then, because it was quite a successful qualifying period for Wales.
Yeah, it was. They played very, very well. Again, I think they were favoured a little bit by the fact that they weren't in the top league. They weren't in League A of the Nations League. So they were in League B, and they had a very decent qualification campaign, were unbeaten in Group B4, topped their group, and that meant that they went through into the qualifiers to play against the other sides who topped their groups in Group B, and the sides who missed out in the Group A and finished bottom there. And I thought that, both their first round and second round playoff matches were absolutely brilliant. And this showed a lot for me what Wales can do and how they can battle when they're up against it, because the other sides in the qualifiers have gone out and smashed opposition and have won 14-0 and 11-0 and some stupid aggregate scorelines. But Wales had to dig deep in both. They beat Slovakia 3-2 on aggregate. That winner coming in extra time of that second leg. So a nail-biting game. They couldn't be split over 180 minutes of football, that they required another half an hour, and Wales went out there, they battled through and got through. And then another absolutely brilliant playoff match, beating Republic of Ireland 3-2 on aggregate, was another brilliant result. They did get these ones done in normal time, but the fact they went into that game and knocked out a Republic of Ireland side who were at the most recent World Cup and do have quality players and are a very, very good side that people are used to seeing do well on the international stage. The fact that Wales went out there and knocked them out and put themselves in was a massive moment, because I don't think anyone saw that coming, with the quality of Irish players that are coming through at the moment, and with the fact they got to that World Cup. I think everyone thought that Ireland would be at this European Championships, but Wales had different ideas, and fair play to them. I thought again, yes, I thought the initial qualification stage was really good, but unlike the other sides who have waltzed through the playoffs or have looked really classy and have played super football, what I like the fact that we've seen from Wales is that they've got that grit about them. And that grit is absolutely crucial going into tournaments like the Euros.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's important to make that distinction as well, because We've seen, obviously, with the men's game, the people coming across from the men's game, excited about this tournament, and traditionally, or especially recently, Wales have been this powerhouse team. They have done really well in the men's game, but they've never been to the Women's Euros before. And in the men's game, Ireland are relative minnows at the moment. They haven't really qualified for anything for a few years now. And so, but in the women's game, they're a really successful side. So to get over that hurdle was really impressive. So Wales in a really good position heading into this tournament. Looking though at their more recent fixtures, are they coming into this on good form?
I think that again, it depends how you take the qualification into it. But we've had a couple of teams where in the same predicament as Wales, where they've had a brilliant qualification campaign and then recently have just fell away a little bit and have just not really got the results. I think Wales have played some difficult sides, and to be fair, they've got some decent results. So they got a draw against Sweden. That was a decent match, especially with the fact they went behind in that game. So I think that yes, the results haven't been brilliant, but they haven't been horrific. They haven't been getting absolutely smashed by teams left, right, and centre. They have put up a good fight in all those games, and that's exactly what they need to do. That is same sentiment of dig deep and dig in to get a result.
Well, bar Italy, they haven't lost by more than a 1-goal margin. That was the most recent international, which will be slightly concerning. But I think this represents a larger problem with the Nations League by including it in qualifiers. Wales played against exclusively sides in Nations League B in qualifying, and then some that got knocked down from A and other B teams in those playoffs. And then to warm up for the tournament, they've got to play against Nations League A sides, which is arguably the better way around of having it than some nations who've been knocked out of A and been battered and then are playing Nations League B sides in preparation. The whole Nations League calendar needs to be reformed. But Wales getting through those qualifiers were probably benefactors of a slightly different system where they were able to get through those qualifications. So they'll be very happy with that. But I think what we saw from Nations League A is that, yes, they did. I think they did really well to get draws against Sweden in both games, but are they at the point where they are able to compete yet with those Euro sides? That's going to be the big question, especially in such a tough group. Right, let's talk tactics then. So with Wales, I think we're going to have to make a bit of an educated guess because Wales have changed formation quite a lot over the last few months or last 12 months. Back at qualifiers last year, they played a 3-4-3, as you can see on screen now. You've got this 3-4-3 shape, two wing-backs in Woodham and Green, this midfield almost box with how narrow these two wide players were with Morgan and Fishlock, and then obviously a back three, a bit of an unconventional back three with Evans, who's traditionally a full-back, Hayley Ladd, who's traditionally a defensive midfielder. So it's a little bit of a cobbled-together back three, but it does the job. We did see, though, a shift in the Nations League towards something more of a 4-3-3. So if we adjust that on screen, let's go see Green drop out of the side. Let's go see Powell come in and form this midfield three, and then Roberts pushing back, and we create this back four. Wingers coming out a little bit wider, and you get a bit more of a traditional 4-3-3 shape. So we've seen a gradual change. Obviously, the 3-4-3 saw them qualify for the Euros. In this 4-3-3, they had a difficult Nations League calendar, but it was a tough group for them, admittedly. So what formation they're going to use at this Euros remains a little bit of an educated guess. I wouldn't be surprised to see them move back towards the 3-4-3, which saw them go off a little bit more possession of the ball and a little bit more of control of games in favour of a little bit more defensive solidity. So if we look at how that may impact the game, if we move them into a 3-4-3, so we're going to see this in possession, it's going to look like this, 3-4-3, with the two wingers coming quite narrow. So when they're playing out from the back, if we imagine the ball's with the goalkeeper, we're going to see Hayley Ladd come from a little bit higher and operate as a defensive midfielder, which she's more than comfortable to do. And then we're going to see these two wing backs really high, really wide, looking to receive the pass and then carry into this sort of area. Let's move that into an attacking sense. The wing backs frequently overlap regardless of the system. What this gives you, though, is a more secure option. So the wing backs really want to be in this sort of position, stretching the opposition back line. You've got these two attacking midfielders who operate as your interior players here in the half spaces, and then moving everyone forwards, you've already got this back three, so you can create this 3-2-5 shape quite easily. Now, if we adjust that and we imagine that Green isn't here and that Powell's in this midfield instead, what we tended to see was that this would happen more often, where only one fullback would commit and the other one may sit a little bit deeper, because you don't really have a player in this midfield that naturally drop into these defensive positions. So I think it would hamper them slightly. You then see probably Fishlock come a little bit wider to create width on this side. Obviously, if the ball changes sides, then we'll see players move around to sort of attribute to that. But I think overall they look better when with a midfield pivot and bringing Green onto this right-hand side and operating with this back three. So I think with the level of opposition they're going to play at this summer's tournament, they'll move back towards this 3-4-3 that obviously then operates as a bit more of a 3-5-2 in possession. Because why does this work? Well, you've got these two wing-backs who are very good at delivering the ball. Lily Woodham has had a difficult season, admittedly. Crystal Palace have been, it's not the best place to be, but I think with a very difficult side, she's performed adequately well. I think she's shown herself to be very good at defending in these sorts of areas, defending these wide spaces, but also getting up and offering a threat in this sort of area. What they do lack perhaps is someone in the box that's going to meet that, because Hannah Kane, for all her qualities, isn't the best header of the football, but off the bench, we could see Elise Hughes come in, who is more than capable of operating in these sorts of areas, or we could see someone like Barton. We could see Fionn Morgan move centrally, who's a very good, very capable player, not the most natural striker, but then you can push Holland into that sort of position, bring someone like Griffiths in, or if Ingle is fit to start, then she'll play in this sort of position. So they've got options. Wales, it will just be what they decide to do, what they choose to do for specific opponents. I think, again, Wales are the kind of side who will change things up based on opponent. If it's a more favourable game, they will alter how they're playing. If it's a less favourable game, though, to be fair, I think all of their group is less favourable. We'll see how that changes. In terms of pressing, very high pressing side are Wales, regardless of what shape they're using. We're going to see them move into this more 5-4-1 type shape in this 3-4-3, where we'll see Kane follow the ball, and then these two midfielders pushing up onto players. And because they've got this back five behind them, they've sort of got that license to push up. Because if the ball does drop into these sorts of areas, lads can come in and jump up onto players with security if Roberts Evans behind her, and vice versa. If Roberts steps up, then she knows these players are going to drop in to cover her. So they've got that security playing this sort of shape. It just depends on what they want to do. But they've done very well with their pressing. They've limited oppositions to an average of 6.7 passes per defensive action. So that's then preventing the opposition from being able to make more than 7 passes before or more than 6 passes before they interrupt that with an interception, with a tackle, with a touch of the football. So Wales are showing a real intensity and that desire to go and chase after the football and stop teams building up in that way, which when you look at how the other teams in this group are going to want to play, that's really important with how strong they are playing out from the back. One of the strengths of this formation is it has seen them become more dominant in possession. If we look at their sort of mid-stage build-up phases, we're going to see this back three. Allows the wing-backs to get wider without sort of any consequences. Holland and James dropping into these sorts of positions, and then Morgan and Fishlock will be quite narrow with Kane trying to stretch that back line. So you do get options in here. These midfielders can drag wide. That'll give opportunities for Fishlock and Morgan to drag into these sorts of positions to receive the ball, and that can drag players out of the way if full-backs or centre-backs have got to follow these attacking players into these central areas. So they can create real overloads in central areas through that. Obviously, these wide areas are really useful as well. We've seen when the fullbacks do get forwards, we'll see them supported quite adequately in these sorts of areas, knowing, of course, they've got this back three that will step up and then cover that. So, yeah, well, I think it's quite a nice formation what Wales have got. The problem for Wales at this tournament is going to be in terms of quality, because while over the last 6 months or 12 months, they've been able to create this 4-3-3 formation, which has been able to be more possession dominant and create more expected goals. Will that materialise at this competition? I think what we'll see a lot more of from Wales is dropping back into this 5-4-1 shape, looking to be as defensively solid as possible. It's going to be a tough tournament. They've got the group of death. I think even the most confident, most believing Wales fan doesn't expect them to get out of the group stages, but they'll give it a good go. And if they play well defensively, if Morgan and Fishlock drop in like this, if they play this 5-4-1, they can become very difficult to beat. But ultimately, it's going to come down to quality, I expect. And looking at this Wales side, it lacks players that take them to the next level. It's got very good players. It's got players who can have individual moments, but is there a player in this side for me that completely changes a game on its head. Not really at the moment. So I think Wales are just missing a bit of that star talent and then quality across the board. It's got a nice profile. You've got a few older players, a few younger players, but you've got older players who are very experienced but a bit slow, and younger players who are very eager, very excited, but are a little bit inexperienced. You don't really have many of those peak age players. So what Wales are waiting for now is for these younger players to come through and that next generation to join them and build into a good squad. But qualifying for their first European Championships, there's a lot of belief that Wales, or a lot of happiness amongst this Wales camp, and a belief that this could see them build of something of Welsh football over years to come.
So let's get into predictions then. Looking at this group stage, Wales opening up against the Netherlands. It's probably their kindest fixture, which says a lot about the difficulty in this group. How do they try and get points against these oppositions? They play Netherlands first, France match week 2, England in match week 3. How do they capitalise on those teams' weaknesses? How do they get points out of this group stage?
It's a great question. I think that from a Wales point of view, what they have to focus in on is the fact that the other teams in this group will look at Wales and go, "Oh, that's an easy game." For example, if England go out and they beat France and beat Netherlands in the first 2 match weeks, they will rest up and they will rotate against Wales, and that's when the opportunity comes in for the Welsh. They've got to try and catch these other sides, resting on their laurels, and then hit them hard, because Wales have got some players that can definitely compete and can definitely cause some trouble for even the world-class nations. That's what they're going to have to hope on, is a bit of tournament magic, a bit something special from one of their better players, and catch one of the big sides on an off day. And I don't like saying that because that feels disrespectful, but if we are being realistic, that's what it's going to take. They are the minnows in this group. They have been drawn a horrendous group. First ever European championships, and you get 2 past winners of the tournament, including the reigning champions, and one of the biggest powerhouses in women's football right now of France. It's a horrible, horrible draw. If they come out of it with any points whatsoever, fair play to them. As long as they don't get smashed around and keep it respectable, I think it will be a decent group stage to reflect on. That will be the thing for Wales, is don't go out there and get embarrassed losing 4 or 5-0 in each game. Go out there, put up a fight, and if you come off the pitch against France and you've only lost 1-0, then hold your heads high, because that's a really good battle. Again, same with the others. They've got to try and see what they get and hope that one of their better players can provide something special, because a wonder goal from somebody or a brilliant solo run that ends up being finished nicely, and if they're 1-0 up, and then that's something to defend. I think they've got to come out, be brave, get a goal, but once you get a goal, get everyone on that back line and just hope for something to happen.
I think with Wales, this tournament's all about inspiring the next generation and bringing through that talent pool of Welsh footballers. And so, as you say, I think it's that moment. I think if they can lead a game and get fans then interested because they're 1-0 up and they've got the opportunity, could they do something here? If they can get a goal, if you mentioned a wonder strike there, they can just have a moment where the country gets behind the nation, where there's young girls watching that go, there we go, that's a moment, that's something to remember. That for me is the most important thing coming out of this tournament. So, I mean, I don't think Wales are going to set up in a way that means they're just pinging them from 40 yards and hope that one goes in and that they make a TikTok compilation. But that is what it feels like. If they could just have a moment like that, that could be what kickstarts a generation of young Welsh footballers. So we'll see what happens. It's a big thing. It's their first ever Euros. It's very much nothing to lose for Wales, as we said, similar to the Poland one. There's nothing to lose here. They can go out and play however they wish. Obviously, they don't want to lose every game 5-0, but there is no pressure on Wales.
Yeah, it's that go big or go home kind of aspect. They are predicted to finish bottom of the group with 0 points. If they go for it, take no risks, take risks, not that, don't take risks, play a bit of a gamble, and they get a goal against France, suddenly, people are going to love that. Again, people are going to watch and they're going to get on board if if it's a tight game and you only lose 2-3-1. If you get rolled over 5-6-0, then people aren't, those fair weather are going to turn off. So this is a massive opportunity for Wales as a nation, and if the players go out and perform, I think they can really cultivate a great atmosphere. I've loved the reaction to Tesco putting up celebrating
It was
England.
Lucozade, wasn't it?
Yeah,
The
it was
Lucozade
Lucozade,
promotion
sorry.
in
Yeah.
Tesco's. Yeah.
For promoting England and saying England do well, and it's in this Welsh Tesco's, and the reaction's been brilliant, and rightfully so. Why are they? Why are in a Welsh supermarket?
Well, that was
They promote.
stupidity.
I mean,
Who's
yeah,
done that?
someone has lost their job very quickly. But yeah, I like the reaction because it shows that a lot of people are getting on board and are supporting Wales. Does also mean a lot of people hate England. That is the other. That is the alternative. But
That creates a feistiness in that last
that's what
game.
you wanna
You've only
see.
got to look at Scotland, who in the men's game celebrate draws against England. That kind of rivalry. But Wales want that. Wales want fans to get behind the nation this year, and I think it's important that the performance on the pitch is good, and they can start to inspire the younger generation going forwards. But that does round off our previews for the Women's Euros. The last 16 days we've posted a preview on every single club, so go back and watch that, and it rounds off 28 days of consecutive posting. So there's a lot of videos on the channel, so if you're new around here, go and watch them all. You've got time just before the Women's Euros. But we'll be live for every game of the tournament, so join us starting on Wednesday at 5 o'clock. For that, I cannot wait. I'm so excited now. Back tomorrow morning with our predictions, so look out for that. But that is everything from us today. Thank you guys very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.